G'day guys, how's it going? So in this video, we're going to start looking at how we can control flow in our Rust programs. And the first way we're going to control the flow is by making decisions, all right? So the way that we make decisions in most programming languages is we use an if statement or an if else statement, right? Depending on which program you're talking about. In Rust, we have if and else. We also have something called else if, right? But we'll go through this slowly so you understand how each piece works. So the scenario I'm going to choose for this example is getting on a ride, all right? So let's just say to get on a particular ride for the first day that it's first launched, we just tell people that they have to be over the age of 10 years, right? If they're not over the age of 10 years, they're not allowed on the ride, okay? So if we basically declare a variable to indicate that, so is over 10 years, I might start off by setting this to true, right? And what we can do now is in our application code, we can say if, right, the user is over 10 years, all right, then in a block, right, we're using curly braces like this, we can do something, right? So in the case of this application, I'm just going to print something out like so, right? I'm going to say you are old enough to go on the ride. Cool. Now, if I save this and run it, you're going to see that it prints out you are old enough to go on the ride, okay? Because I set the value to true here, then when it goes if true, then you can go on the ride. Now, just remember that basically a variable is a type of Boolean expression, and if conditions deal with Boolean expressions, just like we saw when we were looking at comparison operators and even logical operators. All right, we're able to use Boolean expressions. Same deal here with if conditions. You must process a Boolean expression. So this being a Boolean expression, this is allowed, okay? Now, obviously, we may want to tell somebody when they can't get on the ride. We don't want to just tell people when they can, because there are going to be people who can't get on the ride, right? We need to inform them of that. So if we say day one, we can only go on the ride if you're over the age of 10. What we can do is if they're not over the age of 10, we can issue an else, all right? So the else follows the if, just like that. And then we can print out a message saying something like, you are not allowed on the ride. Sorry. Right? Now, if I save this at the moment and rerun, we're still old enough to go on the ride. But if I now say that we're not, right, we're no longer over the age of 10 years, I can run this and we can see it says, you are not allowed on the ride. Sorry. So it's gone through the decision. It's realized that this is not true. So it's not going to execute this line of code. It's come down into the else and it's executed this line instead. Cool. Now, what if, we spoke to the owner of the theme park and all of a sudden he says, you know what? We can let people on the ride if they're of a certain height and of a certain weight, right? They have to be both, right? So, or sorry, they have to be one or the other, right? So let's say the height, I know, is whatever. Right? It could be like 1.5 meters or whatever that is in feet and inches. I'm not too sure. Or they have to be over, say, 30 kilos, which is probably roughly 65 pounds, something like that, right? 66 pounds American, right? So we're just going to have some Boolean flags to capture that. So we'll just go let is over min height. And we're going to set to begin with true, right? And then we're going to have let is over min weight. And we're going to set that to say, let's say false. Say they're tall, but they're skinny, right? Now, currently, if I run this code, it's going to say these aren't used, right? Because we're not using them. But what we can do is say, okay, if we're not over the age of 10, we don't want to just tell them they can't be on the ride. We want to tell them that if they pass one of these criteria, they can still go on the ride, but it'll be a different line of messaging, right? So what we can do is instead of having the else here, we can bring that down and we can start what's referred to as an else if, right? And then we can set our condition here. So the condition I'm going to go with is if over min height or is over min weight, right? If it's either one of those, we're going to print out something different. And just for convention, you normally put the else and the else if after the right curly brace of the previous if condition, right? So inside of this, we're going to go print line, and I'm going to say here, you are allowed because either you are tall enough or you weigh enough. Cool. So currently we are tall enough according to this flag here. So it should execute the second line. So let's just quickly check that. And now it says you are allowed because you're either tall enough or you weigh enough. I spelled that wrong. I put weight. Sorry about that. And now let's flip the script here. We'll say he's not tall enough, but he weighs enough. And save that. And we should get the same result. And we do, right? Because we weigh enough. Now we're going to say we're not even going to weigh enough, right? So we're not tall enough, we're underweight, and we're under the age of 10. In that situation, what's going to end up happening is you are not allowed on the ride. Sorry, okay? Now, that's an else if statement. Now, you can do multiple else if statements as well. So we'll quickly demonstrate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a new variable called has parent permission. So what this one's going to say is if I've got permission from the parent, of that child, then they're still allowed to go on the ride, right? Because it's like signing off. We are not liable, blah, 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 right? So what we can do now is come down to this else, put that down on the next line, else if, and then we're going to say has parent permission. And I'll put this up on the next line like that. And now we're just going to print out, basically, you are allowed because your parents said you could. Okay? And now, because this is currently set to true, if I run the application, you're going to see it says you are allowed because your parents said you could. But as soon as they say you can't, right? So you try to go up to the ride, then clearly it tells you you are not on the ride. You're not allowed on the ride. Sorry. Okay? And that is pretty much how we can control the flow of our application with decision making using if and else if conditions. So that's all I want to show in this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.